we're going to talk about Kamala Harris. She's reemerged from the coconut tree. And in classic centrist Democrat
People
fashion,
stay quiet.
she has learned fucking nothing. There is no accountability. There is so much tone deafness in this clip we're gonna watch. It is astounding. She is effectively blaming the voters once again for not electing her. Democrats, listen to me. Do not fucking do this. Do not fucking fall into this trap or continue to do this trap. I voted for Kamala Harris in 2024. I was a little shocked when she lost. I thought that she had a better chance. I thought that she was going to win. But I also recognized that she ran a shit campaign. It was so fucking disastrous. And what made it worse was, as we got closer and closer to November 5th, she began to talk less and less about the economic policy prescriptions that she would implement, regardless of like the super silly ones, like $50,000 small business loans, whatever. She had some okay policies when it came to price gouging, for example. But she got away from that. She became a fortune cookie presidential candidate. She became a platitude politician. I am not a vote blue no matter who person. I understand that votes have to be earned. A good candidate compels people to go out and vote. A candidate who speaks to the general electorate and understands their resentment and talks about ways that they will improve their material well-being will compel people to vote for them. Kamala Harris did not do that. But before we delve into this any deeper, I'm going to play this video of her. We do also have a response from Tim Walz as well. He was on CNN talking about this.
We are seeing organizations stay quiet. We are seeing those who are capitulating to clearly unconstitutional threats.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think her husband's law firm capitulated to Donald Trump.
And these are the things that we are witnessing each day in these last few months in our country. And it understandably creates a great sense of fear. Because, there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here, so I told you so. I swore I wasn't going to say that.
I don't know. What the fuck is so funny? I don't know why they're laughing about this. Shit is getting really bad, really fucking quickly. Due process is being stripped away from everybody. We are on the cusp of a fucking recession. Medicaid, Social Security, and Medicare are on the chopping block. And this fucking woman is giving this speech talking about, well, I told you so, sweaty. Here's the thing. It's not 2016 anymore, guys. 2016 was 9 fucking years ago. If you're a Democrat, you can no longer say Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad. He has his base. People are going to vote for him. He's had like 70 million votes plus in 3 fucking elections. No, not 3. I'm sorry. That's not correct. Whatever. He's gotten 10. He's had a very successful political career, unfortunately. If you're going to say Trump bad, you need to further explain why Trump bad and how you are going to combat Trump bad. The system is so fucked right now that we do not want to hear people just talk about how Donald Trump's tweets are mean. He is a legitimate threat to our fucking country and to the world. She is also like talking like she ran a fucking successful campaign when Tim Walz has said that it was not as good as it could have been, when staffers came out and said that it was not ran as effectively as it could have been. And here she is on stage laughing it up. Here's the thing, lady. You fucking lost. You dropped out of the 2020 primaries. You dropped out of the 2020 primaries. You're one of the first people to drop out because no one fucking voted for you. I understand that she was handed a disadvantageous position. She was the vice president. And the Democrats insisted on keeping the fucking corpse of Joe Biden in the race until fucking August or whatever it was. And I understand that she only had 3 months to build a campaign. But here's the thing. If you're a winner and if you care, if you actually believe in something, if you want to alter the lives of everyday Americans and help reject fascism, you do a basic campaign and speak to the basic needs of the working class people that live in this country. If she had done that, she would have wiped the fucking floor with Donald Trump. And here's another thing. She fucked up royally by refusing to distance herself from Joe Biden on the genocide in Gaza. Not even that she wasn't willing to have a conversation about it, because that would have been different. But when she, at her rally, got confronted by pro-Palestinian protesters, she told them that I'm talking, which signals to us, to the voter, that this hot button and serious issue that we care deeply about, you are entirely disinterested in. This is a major issue for millennials and Gen Z. This was a major issue in Michigan, and you can talk about people, and you can talk about people voting against their best interest in Donald Trump, who's going to do it, who's going to be even worse for Palestinians. And I understand that. But Kamala Harris, even though she probably would have done the same fucking thing that Donald Trump is doing, at least should have showed that she was receptive to a conversation. Instead, she didn't. And she steered away from economic issues. And she hyper-focused on the border and on fucking trans people. That, like, dude. Trans people are not on the minds of the everyday voter. I love the trans community. I advocate for their well-being as routinely as I can. But when the economy is in shambles, when people are living paycheck to paycheck, when people are working shit jobs with shit pay and shit benefits, they want that shit to improve. And instead, Kamala Harris elected to not even fucking give us the ear candy of a left populist strategy.
But I'll say this: fear has a way of being contagious. Okay. When one person has fear, it has a way of spreading to those around them and spreading. And we are witnessing that, no doubt. But I say this also, my dear friends: courage is also contagious. Courage is also contagious.
Courage is contagious because Bernie Sanders is doing rallies for 34,000 people. AOC is accompanying him on those rallies. Tim Walz is doing like fucking a Netflix stand-up special in front of thousands of people. Those people are courageous. Do you know why they're courageous? Because they stand for something and they have convictions and they believe in uplifting the middle class, and they actually give a fuck about their constituents. I'm under no misinterpretation. Neither Bernie Sanders nor AOC nor Tim Walz are they don't match my point of view on ending the genocide in Gaza. I did mention before that Bernie just implemented a bill to block arms sales for Israel, but I still feel that he could be doing more. But here's the thing. I understand the times that we live in. I understand pragmatism, and I understand being practical. Bernie is good enough on Gaza when you consider all of the other things that come along with him and all of the other things that he's advocating for. Same thing with Tim Walz. Same thing with Andy Bashir. I think the long short of what I'm trying to get here is Kamala Harris is not the person for 2028. I've seen too many tweets talking about how, talking down on people who haven't already anointed Kamala as the answer in 2028. And to them, I ask you this: why are you so confident in her winning an election again when there are clearly better candidates out there? Kamala Harris would not even be able to defeat Gavin Newsom in a gubernatorial race. She is that unpopular. And this is Gavin fucking Newsom we're talking about. This is like the fucking boogeyman for the right, and also for people like myself, because he's also fucking terrible. She does not have the juice, man. She does not. She does not. I hate this whole fucking attitude from the Democratic Party and from liberals that everyone needs their chance. You're next in line. Like, there's a defined hierarchy, and you can't challenge for political office until it's your turn. Like, Jerry Connolly got appointed to the highest committee in the House of Representatives over AOC, and the only reason he got appointed was because he's been in Congress for like 1,000 years. He's got throat cancer. He's terminally ill. He's 90 fucking years old. And the Democrats are like, AOC? Oh, she's an effective messenger with a large platform on social media? No, let's go with this fucking geriatric dipshit who can't even wipe his own ass, probably. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to hear what Tim Walz has to say. And I will say this: I'm very happy that Tim Walz has been putting himself out there in the face of this defeat. And I'm also very happy that he understands that they lost and that there is more for them to do. That is a leader. That is, that's what you want from someone who is running for high political office. You assess the situation, you see what went wrong, you admit to it, and then people are like, okay, this guy at least exists in reality.
Because, there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here, so I told you so.
Former Vice President Kamala Harris back with a little "I told you so" this week as President Trump's tariffs are setting off global shockwaves. So what does Harris's former running mate think? Well, Democratic Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota has been on a national town hall tour through red congressional districts from Iowa to Texas to
Hell
Ohio,
yeah.
and he joins us now from Columbus.
Tim Walz, please come to Long Island. Please. Long Island has both districts in Suffolk County are red. Both districts in Nassau County are slight blue. Please come to Long Island. I beg you. I will literally get on my hands and knees and beg Tim Walz to come to Long Island. Please.
Democratic Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. You're the governor of an agriculture-heavy state, one of the top 5 in the country, I believe. What's your reaction to what you just heard from the agriculture secretary?
Yeah, good morning, Jake. Well, I'm stunned. Your questions were spot on. It's very clear that she talked about the people she's listening to. That is not the agricultural community. It is certainly not producers. It's not folks like Cargill, CHS, General Mills, who are out in my district. Look, this is a really precarious time, and the flippant nature that we're just trying something new here is really dangerous. These markets took us years to develop, and we have to be dependable trading partners. They don't come back overnight. And everyone knows in the history of trade wars, agriculture gets hit the hardest. So I'm deeply concerned. It's our number one export. Adding the tariffs, our 2 biggest, export markets are Mexico and Canada. They're our great friends. This is just really, really terrifying. I would encourage, and I'll call the secretary. I'd encourage her to come to Minnesota and see everything that she said is not what's happening on the ground. So look, it's a precarious time.
So let me ask you, because another group you're in touch with, the United Auto Workers Union, you have a lot of that. They have supported you for years and years and years. They were excited to have you on the Democratic ticket. President Trump argues that these tariffs are needed to bring American manufacturing back and to help American workers left behind in places like Minnesota. He has support from the UAW. The UAW called his auto tariffs, quote, a long overdue shift away from a harmful economic framework that has devastated the working class. It signals a return to policies that prioritize the workers who build this country rather than the greed of ruthless
We're going to talk about this,
unquote.
as well.
I have to say, that sounds a lot like language you would use. What do you say to the UAW?
Yes. It is what I would use. And here's the thing that the Democrats have to figure out. Donald Trump's language around this, he's not wrong that we've had manufacturing gutted. He's not wrong that we saw an outshoring. People of my generation were told, you know, there aren't going to be any manufacturing jobs, so you need to go to college and rack up student loan debt. The problem is Donald Trump's solution to this is not the solution. Now, UAW is right. Certain tariffs, if they're on to steel or if they're targeted correctly, do make a difference. That's not what we're dealing with here. So just last week, 650 taconite miners are laid off. Those taconite miners are mining the taconite to make the steel to build the automobiles. So I don't disagree where they're at, and I think this is the Democratic dilemma. Donald Trump talks about the things that are real in the angst of people's lives. He doesn't do a damn thing about it. In fact, he does just the opposite, and he pals around with the people that caused the problem, and we don't offer him a solution, so it looks like we're not hearing him. So I disagree with Sean Fain and UAW on this issue. I don't disagree with them on that we made decisions over the last 30 to 40 years that I don't think helped America, but this is not the solution to it. Isolating ourselves is not the solution. We need to make sure that we're focusing. And again, I would just end with this, Jake. Donald Trump has not once ever cared about workers. This is why you need to support unions across the board, support the ability to have a living wage.
So we heard your former running mate Kamala Harris say she's not here to say "I told you so." Although
he's so fucking good when talking about domestic issues. It's that simple. It's that simple. Tim Walz is a remarkably effective communicator when he's not on the debate stage and the first fucking question he gets asked is about Israel.
obviously that's what she was saying about all the Trump chaos we're seeing. I have to say, though, what does "I told you so" really mean here? I mean, people heard her message. They did not vote for her. She lost every battleground state. You yourself have criticized the Harris-Walz campaign for being too cautious. She may have told the American people, she may have warned the American people, but she didn't do it compellingly enough to win.
That is the absolute point. And look, when I criticize, I'm criticizing myself. I own this. I'm part of the ticket. And somebody has to come up with a strategy. I think this is exactly right. This is the thing. Look, Democrats, it was a good night in Wisconsin.
I'm literally getting goosebumps from having a Democratic politician accepting accountability. The bar is in hell. There's really like no other way to put it. All this guy says for me to like get fucking heart eyes is, I own this. I criticize myself. I'm part of why we lost. Like, it's so, dude, it's so refreshing to so refreshing to see people who are actually, accountable.
I was over there. We saw that happen. Donald Trump's doing this. Just to be clear, nobody on the Democratic side is celebrating this, and those folks in the street are not celebrating that Donald Trump's making all these errors. I think what the vice president's saying is that was pretty self-evident that he was going to do that. I do think the challenge for Democrats, and this is, I think, a structural problem that's going to take a lot more thinking. Why, with all of that out there, did they not think we were any better than that? And they didn't. And I'm very concerned with the folks who stayed home. And these are folks that I'll say once again, Donald Trump has identified their angst. They can't buy a house. They can't afford to get a good education. They're concerned that their economic future is so precarious it could slip out from under them. Less than half of Americans have $1,000 in savings. And I think, why was it not so compelling? It should have been a slam dunk for us to say, we're the party that cares about that. We're the party that's going to protect Social Security and Medicare. We're the party that thinks the ACA is a good start, but we need to do more on health care. And we didn't do that. So I'm concerned. Democrats do well in special elections and off-year elections, but the electorate that comes in presidential election years is different. When I was young, It was easy to know what a Democrat was. They stood with the working class and labor. Republicans were country club and for the rich. Today, you ask people, they don't. We have a 29% approval rating.
Yeah.
It doesn't help us any that Donald Trump ends up with a 25% approval rating. We have to get back to the core issues that this is about making America prosperous and stable and innovative for everybody.
Well, what do you make of the
Yeah, dude, literally like nothing. There's no avenue for me to deliver commentary. There's no avenue for me to deliver commentary here. He took the words right the fuck out of my mouth. The Democrats are a corporate party now. The reason Democrats perform well in midterms and special elections and not national elections is because typically the folks in those special elections and in, midterms, they understand what goes on in their community. They are not so entrenched with Wall Street and Silicon Valley that their eyeballs are clouded by the millions of dollars in funding that they get. Meanwhile, the Democrats, for like the last, 50 fucking years or so, have trotted out corporate centrist Democrat after corporate centrist Democrat. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. But Obama won twice because he had aura. That's different. But listen, all the aura, you can have all the aura in the world, President Obama. You are still a moderate Democrat. Bill Clinton, really like the last progressive Democrat president was Lyndon B. Johnson. And then virtually every candidate after that who tried to be like a third party or not be aligned with the establishment party got dicked the fuck down. We have one corporate political party with two separate wings. We have the wing that does bad things, those are the Republicans, then we have the wing that does nothing, and that is the Democrats.
criticism that one of the reasons why your party was so resoundingly rejected last November is because Democrats were gaslighting the country, saying that inflation was not a big deal, heralding Bidenomics. Not only Biden, but Kamala Harris was heralding Bidenomics, pretending that there wasn't a problem at the border. And then fundamentally, this idea
shut the
that
fuck up,
President
Jake
Biden
Tapper!
was up for another 4 years of
Oh
the job,
my
while
God.
Americans in poll after poll for year after year.
Dude, the reason the border was not the fucking problem. The problem with the border is that Kamala Harris was Diet Trump on that issue. She offered nothing in the way of expanding immigration, of being able to process all of these folks more effectively, of beefing up the processing power. So that way, every time you cut to the border, there aren't so many people there. They lost this issue on economic grounds and on the genocide going on in Gaza. That's it. That's why they lost.
We're saying he's too old to do the job. Your party stood against all of those things.
Look, Joe Biden coming in and doing COVID and being a governor through COVID did a hell of a job. But I think one of the things that we didn't do is we assumed that we said, and it was true, that we were going to have a soft landing and our economy was better than the rest of the world. Better for who? Better for the working class who was saying groceries were too expensive, as they are now and going up. They got to see us talk about things. Again, I go back to this. Don't talk about food insecurity or housing type of issues. Talk about people being hungry and wondering where they're going to live, or about their children's future, about real security. And so I think your question is spot on. I think we got intellectualized on this. I think the fact of the matter is Joe Biden did soft land the economy. He did usher us through COVID. None of us are saying we should be soft on the border, but we allow a vacuum, and Donald Trump fills it, the 800-pound gorilla, and their narrative starts to stick, and we look weak. We look weak like we don't care. We look like look, Jake, I'm not going to say, we need to do is we need to just arrest people and ship them to El Salvador. No, we need to invest the money on border. We need to make sure that we have the judges necessary to adjudicate things faster. We need to make sure if you're going to be in this country here legally, and when you are, you're going to be uplifted, celebrated, and part of this great American tapestry. We didn't do that, and then it fills them. They'll find the example that is horrific, where you have someone who's not here legally and they commit a crime. That
Yeah.
is horrific,
Don't you
but we don't do a good job of telling that.
don't you think your party needs to acknowledge that President Biden was not up for the job of running for re-election and that this was a major mistake by the
He made that
Democrat?
decision.
I know, but you all went
Yeah,
along with
he
the
made that
idea that he was
decision.
up for it and he wasn't. And everybody saw it and the country rejected it.
Yeah, well, look, history will tell us to go back on that.
Unfortunately, great question by Jake Tapper, because he's right. The Democratic Party tried to look past Joe Biden's dementia, and by the time that they recognized it was an issue, it was too late, and they brought in Kamala Harris. Didn't have a primary. It sucks, but I mean, she was the vice president after all. And again, at the beginning of her campaign, it sounded like she was on her way to winning the presidency. I will say this as well. The first 2 years of the Biden presidency were probably the two best years that this country has had since 2000. It's definitely the best, 2 years of any presidency that I've lived through, if for no other reason than him implementing like the IRA, the American Rescue Act, doing things with the child tax credit, which cut child poverty in half. But then ultimately, like, everything else just fell off. Everything fell apart after that. He got old, he got dementia, he got brainworms, and the Democratic Party felt that everything was normal because Wall Street was telling them it was normal. That's not the case. That's not the case. The voters had a different perception of reality. And the voters' perception of reality was correct. Inflation was down statistically, but things were still expensive. The Biden administration kept talking about how inflation was 2.5%, 2.8%, a normal amount for inflation, but they refused to address how prices stayed high. That is a huge issue. And Kamala Harris began her campaign running on price gouging and then got away from it.
That very well could be the case, Jake. What I'm concerned about is learning from those lessons. I would hope we would never do it again, make a mistake, make sure we go through and get someone. But I don't know where it helps us going forward. I certainly am deeply concerned that Donald Trump is going to lead us down a horrific look. Thank God it's tariffs that he said. Donald Trump listens to no one. Remember, Donald Trump has statements about, I don't think nuclear war would be that bad. I guess we're lucky that he went after tariffs instead of that route.
Yeah.
We have an
That's
issue
so
in this
fucking,
country
dude.
that's going
That's
to
so
impact
fucking
us.
funny to pull out. Wait. Tim Walz is tapped in. How the fuck does he know that and I don't? Donald Trump says that nuclear war won't be that bad? Dude, that's so fucking... What the fuck, dude? Comic book villain as president.
And if there is not a loyal opposition, if there's not some soul searching on our side, if there's not reaching out to those folks who are in the streets, they're leading right now.
So quick question.
I would tell everybody, you better get with them. Yeah.
Quick question, because we got to go. But you said you're not going to run for the Senate seat there. Are you going to run for a third term for governor? Are you possibly going to run for president in 2028?
Well, I'm certainly thinking about running again in Minnesota if that's what they want. I am not thinking about running in 2028. And my advice to folks is if in this moment you're planning for 2028, you're going to get rolled by the people in the streets. You just need to be out there making sure you're helping and doing things like Cory Booker's doing things like Bernie Sanders, AOC.
Hell
things
yeah.
that we see people out talking to folks. So for me, I'm going to get through this legislative session. If the folks in Minnesota want me, I'm kind of inclined to do that. And I just want to play my part to make sure we cannot afford to allow Donald Trump or his successor to go forward because you're seeing the pain.
Good to have you back here, Governor Walz. Oh, and happy birthday. 61 years young today. Congratulations.
61.
I do respect that answer, that he's unsure if he's going to run in 2028 because Democrats have to focus on now. I agree with that 1,000,000%. As I said, things are looking bleak right now. And we need to worry about what's going on right now. Again, we need to worry about the evaporation and the erosion of due process, about the impending cuts to major social services, and really about just like the attempt at total reconstruction of what governance in the United States of America